Jonathan Bluff, hello. I did a presentation like this a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just pull it all off the hard drive and I'll give it another go. And this morning I found out I have no clue where that presentation's at. So I went ahead and I did the short version of how to work an amateur radio satellite. But the opening screen shows you 4 of the FM satellites that are up there right now that we can use, and they're a whole bunch of fun to work. And one of them is incredibly simple, and I'll tell you all which one that is. And the other 3 are going to be more challenging, so I recommend you hit those last. And then there's 2 here, Fox 1B and Fox 1D, that have just been put up recently. So here we go. Alrighty, so here you go. Stuff you're going to need, and I'm going to go through these things just a little piece by piece. You're going to need a 2 meter, 70 centimeter. Oh man, no, I don't want to fix my computer. You want to, don't do this button, by the way, in the middle of a presentation.
Must be a Windows machine.
It is a Windows machine. I've been waiting another hour for the past 5 weeks. All right. Stuff you're going to need. You're going to need a dual band HT, at least one. You can do the SO50 satellite with just one really easily. But for the other ones, if you want to go cheapy, you're going to need 2. You might as well buy a real nice one for, you know, the same price as 2 radios. And a directional antenna. I brought you guys in one that one of my students' parents made for her final. It's quite swell. You guys can actually look at that in just a bit as well. A way to find a satellite, and that's with software and a compass and a pencil and a paper. So there we go. Alrighty, so here I separate down to best, better, and gooder for y'all. So the best is an HT with true dual band operation. So that means VV or VU or UU. So you can listen at the same time as you're talking. Those are swell. It's the best way to rock and roll with the satellites, especially the ones where you are trying to go up. The uplink side is with UHF. Those ones are tricky. Better is just get 2 of your Baofengs. You can do that for like $40. And have them try to work independently, so you have 2 radios strapped onto your antenna. That's a whole load of fun if you have 4 arms or a spouse or a best friend. Or a brother. There you go. You see? Bonding already right there. And then good is one cheap HT that will allow you to program a split frequency, and the UV5Rs will do that with the chirp programming pretty easily. And so maybe we'll have a chirp lesson one of these days. And that you can do this really easily with SO50. Any questions? Good enough for now? Alrighty. Okay, so the directional antenna, I'm actually a little bit kind of like split between these 2. I actually have all of these guys. I do have the arrow antenna as well as the elk log periodic. So I really enjoy the arrow antenna, which is it's a dual band Yagi antenna. It's really versatile. It folds down to almost nothing. It's tunable, which is really cool with these little sliders right here. They're called gamma matches. The elk log periodic, you can't ever separate the 2 meter from the 70 centimeter. And once you get it and put it together, I mean, there's no way to tune it. It's just there and you're ready to go. The nice thing though about the elk is that it's lighter. So if you're like, out there and you have one arm and you're trying to hold this guy, after a while you're gonna notice that one of your shoulder muscles is gonna get disproportionately large than the other one. So when you're like, you go home, you're like, hey, how's it going, sweetheart? You don't ever want to do with the other arm that doesn't hold the antenna. You're gonna get laughed at. But this one right here is actually pretty slick. It's nice and lightweight. I really appreciate it for that reason. And it works. It's obviously a dual band. But you can't separate them. And if you want to go out there and do the coolest option, you can actually build. I just found this today, because like I said, I put the slides together today. KM4GLM has plans on his website to build a dual band tape measure Yagi. So that's going to be next year's amateur radio class final. Everybody gets to have, take apart their parents' tape measures, and now we're just going to take apart twice as many. And then the parents always find out about it after the fact, and it's great, and I get all these like nasty grams. Well, I don't know. Want an email. So this is, like I said, it's an example of a nice tape measure Yagi antenna. This particular student's parents use a nice thick piece of tape measure, so it doesn't, it doesn't flop over. I was really impressed. This was an A, by the way. Good job. All right. So can make those things we have a whole classroom set now of them. So we we hammer them out for about 15 bucks a pop. It's pretty cheap. All right, if you're going to go the direction of using or building your own tape measure Yagi, I found a quick video on how to use an antenna analyzer, and then I brought one for you guys because I want you to try to get some experience in doing this. If you don't know somebody if you don't have one, find somebody who does have one that you borrow. These are fantastic. This one's the school's. I borrow it all the time. Here we go. Why I run the amateur radio class. I want toys I can't afford.
That's the truth. Your hour has apparently passed.
It has. It's going to make me restart everything just to watch a YouTube video.
Hi, Randy, K7AGE. I'm going to talk about antenna analyzers a little bit today. MFJ sells many different analyzers. Their 259 series, and there's several variations, is very popular. I have a 269, which is basically the same thing, but covers 70 centimeters. So these antenna analyzers offer a lot of different test functionality. The one we're going to look at today is frequency and SWR. When you're putting up a new antenna, you want to check to see where the antenna is resonant, make sure it's where you had thought it was going to be. And the analyzer can measure that and determine if you need to make it longer or shorter. So the alternative to an antenna analyzer is an SWR bridge or meter, or the SWR meter in your radio, although these require you to transmit. The antenna analyzer is nice because it's off air. It's also makes it easy to take out in the field versus taking your radio out. So we'll look at an SWR meter first, and then we'll show you doing the same measurements with the MFJ analyzer. First here I'm going to show you using the SWR meter that's in my Drake antenna tuner, which I'm not using as a tuner, it's just a bypass. I'm going to be using my 40 meter dipole, and I have my K3 set to about 7.2 megahertz. And the way a SWR meter works is that there's usually some type of full scale adjustment. So here I push this knob in to transmit, set the meter for full scale, and let go of that, and then transmit. And on the SWR here, it's reading about 1.75. Or if you have a real fancy power meter, it may also give you an SWR measurement. Just hit the button, the key, and it tells me it's 1.6. So 1.6 on this meter, 1.7 on the other. Yeah, they're close enough. Now let's take a look at using the antenna analyzer to do this as well. Okay, this is what the antenna analyzer looks like. This is a 269, it does 70 centimeters. The 259 is basically the same thing. These things have changed over the years with different knobs and different information being displayed, but they're all kind of the same. There's a knob here for tuning the frequency. There's basically a band switch that selects between different frequency ranges. And on the top is where your antenna can plug in. And the MFJ, you can put internal batteries, but I don't use it that often, so I power mine off an external 12-volt gel cell. There's a couple things you should be aware of. You never want RF going into the meter from a transmitter. You'll blow up the front end. They recommend that you short the center to ground to discharge any static before connecting the coax. Also, if you're in an area with a high RF environment, like if you have an AM broadcast station nearby, you may get erroneous readings on the meter. Okay, so the way this works, you turn the meter on, it goes through a little self-check, tells you the software MFJ, tells you the battery's okay, and then it's in the basic impedance or SWR checking. I have it on the 4 to 10 megahertz scale because I'm checking a 40 meter dipole, which is 7 megahertz, and this knob then allows you to tune. There's a meter here that shows SWR, and on the 269 it actually also shows you SWR digitally at the top, and this shows you the impedance, and we're aiming for 50 ohms. So basically what you do is that you tune this, and you can see the dip here in SWR, and the frequency here is 7.00. So it's, my antenna is actually resonant at the very bottom of the band, which is really not good. I should change that, which means I need to raise it, which means I need to shorten the antenna. But for right now, this is what we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the SWR in 7 megs at 100 kc intervals and see what the range looks like. So we know at 7.0 or 699, it's 1 to 1, so that's 1.0. And we raise this, we just tune this up to 7.1. It's a little quick on the tuning. So just there's close enough. Okay, that's 1.2. I can go up to 7.2. It's 1.5, so you can see the SWR is rising. If I go up to 7.3, and it's 1.8. Now what's really nice with these, you can go outside of the amateur band. So let's just say go down here to 6.9, 6.8, and 6.7 here and see what my SWR is. For 690, that's 1.2. On the 6.8, 1.6, 6.7, 2.1. As you can see, the antenna is resonant at 7 megahertz. Now that's right at the very bottom of the 40 meter band. If I was a phone operator, I would probably want to, since I have to move it higher, I'd have to shorten up the antenna to bring the SWR from 1.5 down. Although just about all radios will work into a 1.5 or 1.8 SWR without any problems. Okay, so I've taken my data versus frequency and plotted out a graph, real simple, and I can see that my 7.0 is where it's resonant. And again, if I wanted to shift this graph higher, I'd have to shorten up the antenna. So I quickly showed how to use an MFJ antenna analyzer. Almost any analyzer will do these basic functions of showing SWR versus frequency. You do several measurements and you can make yourself a little graph. The fancy meters have a display that shows you the graph, and you can probably plug it into a computer to store the information.
So that's pretty slick. The one that I brought for us to use does not have the little graph display on it. You have to do it by hand. Okay, so towards the end of the presentation, you guys are welcome to come on up here or even take it back to your table and play with this thing, mess with the dials a whole bunch. It's your tax dollars at work, right? Okay. All right. Okay, so the next step is once you've built your antenna and you run it through an analyzer and you have it set to the not melt mode on your antenna for your transceiver, you need to pick out a satellite. If you've never done this before, start with SO50. It's super simple. I mean, you just all you do is listen for a pass, kind of get used to the lingo that the operators are using, and then next time around, 90 minutes later, you just go for it, and then you're going to have a great time. So SO50 is called a mode J, and that means that it has the 2 meters is going up, so VHF is the uplink. The satellite listens to 2 meters on that one, and then 70 centimeters going down. And the thing that makes it easy is that when you're going up and you're talking to the satellite, you don't have to worry about Doppler shift at all. You just press and people can hear you all over the United States or wherever. It's got a pretty big footprint to it. However, when you're listening to it, you're going to have to tune your radio in order to keep up with the Doppler shift, because the downlink is on the 70 centimeter side, so that really short wave, and that satellite's coming towards you is going to have an apparent frequency of being a much higher frequency, and then as it goes overhead, it's going to have an apparent lower frequency. So start learning on this satellite. You can work this bird with only one radio, which is super duper cheap. This one's easy to work with a Bofang UV5R. It's oh, and now that we're on the topic, okay, the UV5R, and those things are like 300 miles above the face of the planet. You don't need to go out there and get a linear amplifier and blow it out of the sky with all this wattage. You can do it with 4 or 5 watts, nice and clear. That's all you need. Actually, don't do more than that, because you're going to start to actually mess with other operators. I should talk. All right. Anyways, so SO50 does power off. So if it's coming out of it's gone across the Atlantic Ocean, nobody's been using it, it's like nighttime or whatever, Monday morning, you do need to turn it on. So what you're going to do is that on button is a different CT-CSS tone, which is kind of cool. You press that for a good couple seconds and the satellite will power on. Don't, in Colorado Springs, you don't have to worry about that. You can always assume that somebody in neighboring states has already turned it on for you and just go for it. So I've actually never had to power the satellite on. If you do, please check first that everything's okay with your radio, because this satellite is really busy. You're going to find people on it all the time, except for I've had a hard time with Monday mornings. Okay, most people have to work, whatever. So you can actually find these the charts that actually correct for the Doppler shift online pretty easily. So you just type in SO50, how to work SO50 PDF, and then boom, you're going to find these charts. If you're new to programming your radios, you heard me say something about a split frequency. So notice that if you're going to be transmitting on the 2 meter band, but as soon as you let off, kind of like you would with a repeater, you have an offset. Your offset is going to jump to another band, and that's called a split frequency. And the chirp software handles that real easily. Just put it right in, select split, and you're ready to rock and roll. Any questions on this one? The other satellites, the other 3 satellites that are up there with the FM repeaters up there, those are a lot more tricky, because this time now your uplink is 70 centimeters, and then the downlink, you can always hear the satellite on 2 meters, so you don't have to really correct for any Doppler shift on that one at all. The thing is that as the satellite is moving and you're trying to talk, you got to remember that you have to move your dial a little bit to compensate for the Doppler shift, and that is really hard to do if you don't have a true dual band receive and transmit. So UU, UV, that whole thing, that's going to cost you a couple bucks, because you really want to be able to actually listen to yourself on the satellite to make sure you're even hitting it. So that's called full duplex, and that's tricky. So I started out, my first full duplex was actually on the AO85, and that was a lot of fun to work. It's not very busy still. I'm actually surprised. I think people just kind of gravitate to SO50 because it's a cakewalk to work. I mean, you can do that. You can be successful your second time out. I've actually heard people have whole conversations because there's been just nobody else on the satellite. People checking in and having talked with their friends from other states and things like that. Unfortunately, the other, like I said, SO50 is the only J-mode satellite. The other one is AO91. And again, it's got another 2 centimeter uplink and then 2 centimeter downlink. And of course, working only in full duplex. Like I said, you can find all the different frequencies, like how to space those out on your radio. Those are all available online. Just look for the satellite that you're actually trying to work with. So you can go to ANSAT, and you can actually find all the satellites that are in operation. There's 4 of them up there right now for you. This is going to make your life so easy. So how to find your satellite. This is a super slick app. There's a bunch of them out there. This is my go-to though. It's called ISS Detector Pro. You just tell your phone, you can actually filter it down. So this is a couple other screenshots, but I have I have all the amateur radio satellites filtered into it. And what it does is you can actually filter it out by the angle of elevation of the pass. So if you're working with like your first time, try out, like especially in this area, try one that goes almost overhead. It's really annoying if you're trying to do something close to the horizon and you're like, oh, stupid mountains are always in the way. Unless you're on Pikes Peak, then you can do everything. It's great. Anyways, so this app, what it does, it will filter them out and it'll give you color codes on which one's like a really nice, beautiful pass for you. It has other cool things like the ISS on it. Different iridium satellites are on there, so you can go outside and watch an iridium flare as it goes across the sky. It's pretty cool. And this part, whoever thought about this, and that was a stroke of genius. So not only does it tell you the start on a little dial, so you can use the compass built into your cell phone. So you just sit there and you're like, oh, well, the satellite's going to rise there and it's going to end there. But it also uses the levels in your phone. And what you do is it just like, you take your phone and you go, and when you get like bubble and bubble, you can actually tell exactly where the satellite's at. So there's like no guesswork whatsoever. You're like, oh, where's the satellite? So, and you're like on the air, like nobody's business. It's the best. And the big bubble here tells you where it's the highest overhead. So you're going to get the clearest shot right there of the satellite. Another fantastic website that I did find just this morning was Into YO. apparently this has been out there for quite some time, but this is really slick. But you can actually filter out all the satellites that you want, and it shows you upcoming passes for the next 10 days, and it also shows you the footprint of your satellite. So this is giant. This is just one that I grabbed this morning as quickly as I could. But you can see you can actually go from continent to continent depending on where you're at. These satellites have a heck of a footprint to them. This one right here, I believe this is actually an SO50 pass that I was looking at. Yeah, this is SO50, the Easy Bird tour. You can actually start from Colorado. Now this is assuming a perfectly spherical Earth with no topography. It's better than the flat Earth theory, by the way. Anyway, you can actually technically start working a satellite when it's way up in British Columbia and then way down as you're getting into Cuba, which is incredible. I've used SO50 and talked to somebody in Saskatchewan before. That was pretty cool, and it's super easy to go from like Colorado to Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. I have not heard anybody from Mexico, unfortunately. I do try to actually see how far I can get, but so far, yeah, Canada's been my record on that thing. It's really cool. You're actually, once you start really getting into satellites, you'll notice that there's going to be people who sit on a certain satellite, and you're going to recognize their voices, so you're like, oh my gosh, hey, you'll call them by their first name and just say a quick hello. It's kind of fun. All right, so once you figure out how to track your satellite, the next step is to just go for it. You need to find what you call your grid square number, and that tells other amateur radio operators where you're at. So this is my house right here. Not a whole cool lot of stuff, so maybe, don't go steal my radio stuff from that one. There's a better one up here, just a little bit north of me. It's Larry's house. He's got way better equipment than I do. Anyways, so my grid square, this is my grid square right here, is Delta Mike 78 Oscar Whiskey. The cool stuff is the last one, Oscar X-Ray. That's where Larry lives. We're both we share a border, which is really cool. All right, once you've figured out your grid square, grab a compass and plan for the satellite pass. Avoid the obstructions like buildings and Pikes Peak. So what you're going to do is you get the data. We might tell you, the satellite rises at 228 degrees and then sets someplace else. So what you do is you're going to go out there long before this even happens. Is you take your compass out there, you go, okay, it's going to rise just above that lamp pole. It's going to set over there just opposite my neighbor's chimney or something like that. All right, and then you're going to also try to look for the maximum elevation and try to trace out that arc in the sky. That way, when you do it a couple times, you kind of have a little bit of memory of it. Because once you start getting going, you're going to be doing this. You have a satellite. You have to hold your antenna in your left hand if you're right-handed. Your walkie-talkie goes in there somewhere, so I'm not sure where yet. Okay, and you got to have a pencil and a pad of paper. You're writing down grid square numbers and then call signs and stuff like that as you're trying to do all this routine at the same time. Drop your squelch on your radio all the way down to 0. These things put out quite a weak signal. It won't make it over the noise floor completely. So you'll always get some static in the background. And then when you're familiar with the pattern, go ahead and start your transmit. So you'll hear, like, for example, the person will say, like, this is N0SLO, Delta Mike 70 Oscar Whiskey QSL. And then once you hear that, go for it. Just jump on in there. And then, so you would say, N0SLO, this is, and you would toss in your call sign, your grid square locator, and then hello, maybe, your location. Obviously, they'll know it from the grid square, but what else? And then the signal report, the other person will just, kind of wrap it up from there. It's really quick on SO50. People they're like that. There's no time to really, shoot the breeze or rag chew on this particular satellite. The Fox 1A, you can probably get away with it if it's a real slow day, but if it's not, then just make it quick so that people can get in and get a QSO. All right, so once again, SO50 is quite busy in the evening times on the weekends. Other satellites seem to be not so busy at all, but they will. I wanted to leave time for you guys to actually come on up here and futz with the antenna analyzer. You're not going to break it. If you do, I'll just order another one, I guess. I'll do a fundraiser. I'll sell brownies or something like that. I did a lot of photography for proms and stuff like that to fundraise for this one, so whatever. All right, you guys, so let's go ahead and power it on. You can go ahead and turn the dial and watch the SWR meter dance around. What's up? How can I help you?
Question.
Yes, please.
Do you have any examples of dual band radios those that,
Like the HTs?
yeah.
I don't have one. Larry, what do you got there? I need.
This is an old Linko DJ 580. It's full dual band.
It's a good one.
So you can actually set this up as a crossband repeater. So that's what you really want to look for, is a crossband repeater radio.
Okay.
When I've gone for the like full duplex, I use my mobile radio, and I just get really long microphone cable extenders. It could be like a phone cable or a Cat5 cable, like 50 feet of that stuff. I'll just run around with that, and I'll do it that way. It looks really silly, but it works great. Yes, sir.
Some people I know, they record the 10 minutes of the pass.
Right.
And then they go back and actually write down the log. So
Yeah.
So the only thing they're writing down is the call sign so they can get back to the person calling.
Right. I've done that with my phone, where I'll just record the whole thing, and I'll fill in my log that way. It's made it a lot easier. But like trying to juggle around like pencils and papers and stuff like that, and trying to remember call signs is really challenging. You'll flub it up. Everybody does. Don't feel bad. You hear a lot of like question mark, Sierra X-ray, and it works. People know what you're doing. And the people out there are actually pretty nice. They'll help you along. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
As a practical matter,
Uh-huh.
if you just left the antenna in one particular position,
Oh,
how long do you have to talk? What talk window
Oh
in seconds or minutes do you
gosh. Okay,
have?
seconds.
This is a real juggling
These
act,
things
right?
zip. They
And so-
go, they're
yeah,
wicked
I mean,
fast.
on the horizon, it can go really fast. It's
Right.
just literally a couple minutes. But if one's going overhead, that gives you the longest
It's a 14
time.
minutes. This is like the longest that I've seen. But the thing is that it doesn't take very long for this, for a satellite to go past, your, that much of
your
like
aperture.
the gain of your antenna, and it's just gone quickly. So you're not. I get this question. I'm surprised I didn't remember to answer. So I get like, can I just use a stationary antenna? And the answer is pretty much no. If you try to use like the antenna on top of your car, it's not going to work, because those are made to try to go as horizontal as possible. You need something that's going to try to radiate upwards. They haul, and when you're trying to remember call signs and everything else, it does something weird to your perception, but it feels like they're going just that much faster.
So you're using the communication in real time
Right.
to constantly tweak the antenna, is that
Yes.
correct? So that the signal noise ratio is as good as it can be, that's basically
Right.
the feedback that you're using?
That is all you have. So Mike made a really good point, is you guys, when you're doing this the first time, or every single time, is that signal is going to dip out real fast. It's going to fall into the noise floor, and you're just going to be chasing a signal the entire way. So it's kind of like you're trying to fish, and you're trying to follow that stream of fish where they're going. You can't just go, oh, it's going to be there. Like a lot of students, when they start trying, when I'm working with them their first time, they'll get preoccupied with one task or the other. They forget to move the antenna when they're trying to talk. That's pretty common. And they're like, oh, I can't hear anybody. Well, it's all right. They can't hear you either. So, yeah. Yes.
These satellites typically have two antennas, one for VHF, one for UHF at 90
And
degree
they
angles.
tumble.
And you're trying to,
Yep.
and they're tumbling through space, you're trying to match the polarization
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, plus
Right.
because they will go up dramatically if you get your antenna into the same polarization
Right.
that it is. So
I have seen circularly polarized antennas out there for working satellites, so you don't have to do this as much. But
Space movement.
I've been quite successful with just this right here. You might want to watch out, like for the edges. If you're doing this routine, you got students next to you, eye goggles or a waiver at all times. Yeah. Go for it, Larry.
With my bow fang, with a duck like this.
Right.
I was able to listen to a satellite going across.
Yeah.
Right.
I forget which one it was.
We were talking. That was Fox 1A, AO85.
This
when
was
we were-
with my grandkids.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
And it was really funny because it was one evening, I knew there was a pass, so I went outside with them and I figured out roughly where things were, and I just followed it across just by rotating the radio. And the kids were
Right.
just like, where is it? And they're trying to find it up in the sky, of course. It's about that big and it's way up there.
Yeah.
Right. So to build off what Larry just said, if you want to just listen, you can do it with the rubber duck on your antenna sometimes. But let's say you want to have your antenna perpendicular to the path of the satellite. Okay, it's probably not going to work so much like this. If the satellite is above you, you'd want to have your antenna like such. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say to you? All right. Any other questions? I kept this one short. I didn't want to. In the past I tend to make these presentations way too long.
Does any manufacturer, when I think about this problem, I think about the astronomy problem. You know, I think about equatorial mounts.
Right.
Which are designed to track very precisely, and you don't have to track exactly at the equatorial rate. A lot of equatorial mounts have multiple rates for tracking satellites and stuff like that. Do people use that very often?
Yes.
Or is it just too
Oh
much
my
of a
gosh,
hassle to
yes.
set up initially?
No, there's a guy out there who can hit the satellite. I mean, it's like a full quieting signal all the time, every time, and I found out how he does it. There's a piece of software that's very popular that will rotate your antennas for you, and he has it all set up. He's got this Yagi antenna on the back of his truck, and it's all computer controlled. Apparently his son is like a computer engineer and built it for him. But he's just like, and he just follows the satellite through the air. No matter where he's at, he'll always hit it. And he takes all the fun out of it, and he gets to work everybody, and nobody gets to work anybody else. I'm not going to mention any call signs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a serious setup. You have cross Yagis on 70 centimeter, cross Yagi, so they're circular polarized on 2 meters. So you take care of the polarization problem. Then you've got the ASL rotating thing driven by computers, and you're just, like you said, just locked on. Oh, by the way, then your radio, you adjust the Doppler automatically too, right? Because you know exactly what the Doppler is. But that's like a $1,000 station.
Right. There's only one person out there that I know of that does that regularly.
Yeah.
But it's like his satellite for the entire pass.
I did find a much lower footprint kind of thing at Dayton. You could take like an Arrow antenna, the dual band Arrow, and it was a little rotor gizmo that would go like on a camera tripod, and it would do all that as well. It must have been USB interface to your PC, and actually I kind of lusted after that. I haven't bought one, but it looked like a pretty slick little setup for portable.
Oh, that's cool.
Just to build on the camera tripod thing too, it works well if you can mount your antenna on that, because now you're not holding that thing up there, you're just moving it. And I've seen, matter of fact, K7AGE, the one that you showed the video of, he's got a couple of ones on there about building the whole unit, putting it on, and even having a radio mount or two on there. Right, so he can just track it across, and it's simple to look at and do and follow him, but I'm not so sure.
Right.
My technique on following it.
I count satellite work as part of my cardio, so I don't think I want to actually get rid of the tripod just yet. So. Any other questions? Anybody want to play with the analyzer?
Yeah, so 50 is going over.
It is. It's like going to go over like in
Starting at 850.
at 850. Yeah. But it's like I debated. I'm like, then I went outside. I was like, it's Arctic out there. I'll do my cardio tomorrow.
I don't know if we can hear it inside on any radios.
Anybody got their? Does anybody have the SO50 on their radio? The downlink?
Yeah, I could just try it off the vertical and see what happens. What is it? 1.5.
Well, I believe it's programmed in.
Okay, I can listen on it.
That'd be cool.
It's just vertical, so now.
Right. Which might work.
Right here. Okay, hey, thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Thank you guys.
One other comment, Stu sent me a text message. He said the roads are getting really, really slick.